until you call upon. Let's keep the phones on mute until you're called upon or it's your turn to speak. I also want to be clear that for first-time managers, we need to hear you and we need to see you. So please make sure your microphones and cameras are both working. And the whole idea of appearing in person is that I know that there's a manager on the other end of the camera. So let's get the meeting started with attendance, starting at my left with Commissioner Caffarelli.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Brian Caffarelli, Commissioner.
Angelo DeFazio, Commissioner.
Marion Guanti, Commissioner.
Carberry, Commissioner.
Heather Hoynes, Board Administrator.
Good morning to all. Let's get started with new pharmacy applications. In Commissioner Chisholm's absence, Commissioner Caffarelli will step in with Commissioner Carberry, and Mary and I will give Commissioner Caffarelli some help along the way in case he needs some, as this is his first design look. So let's call up Costco Wholesale Corporation on Tamarack Avenue, South Windsor. Is Vanessa Buys, I hope it's Buys and not Biz, in the house? Vanessa? Heather, do you see her name? Costco?
Oh, hold on. Someone else just joined on the panelist.
Vanessa?
I don't see her.
Okay, I'm gonna go right to the next one then. Unity Pharmacy, 1351 Whaley Avenue, New Haven. Is Justin Buturla in the house?
I am.
Good morning, Justin. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Could you please raise your right hand?
Sure thing.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Is there any physician ownership or any healthcare professional that has prescription authority in the state of Connecticut to have ownership in this pharmacy?
No, there is not.
Is there any computer, register, point of sale system, or other digital device that can access HIPAA information that's going to sit outside of the prescribed prescription department?
No, sir, there will not be.
Very good. Commissioner Carberry, Commissioner Caffarelli.
Morning, Justin.
Good morning.
Heather, if
Morning.
we can have the,
Yep, I'm working on it.
okay, thanks, Heather. I reviewed a lot of this yesterday. Didn't receive any. Okay, great.
Okay.
Here we go. Perfect. Okay, we just scroll up a little bit. So Justin, just walk us through the location from the entrance and the type of building, standalone.
Yep. So it's a part of a strip, a retail strip, and surrounded by other businesses on both sides. And if you want, I could give a walkthrough.
Yeah,
Right.
please.
Okay. So you come through the double doors in the front and you enter into the OTC area. There's access in the OTC area to an immunization room, which will be locked with a keypad. And then there is a full-size door into the pharmacy department there, and also entrance to a public bathroom. Once you move through the pharmacy door, you're in the cashier area with the ready bags, and there's also a office for management to be in and run reports. Moving further into the pharmacy, there's the pharmacist station and tech station, also some production benches there for filling. To your left on the drawing, there's a bunch of storage rooms. This is a former Tommy's Tanning. So these were tanning bed rooms. And so what they're going to be used for is like vial storage and, you know, other necessary pharmacy items, paper and what have you. One of them is being repurposed as a break room there in the back. And right behind that break room is the employee bathroom. Moving further to the right in the drawing, there's the pharmacy aisles and shelving. And a little bit further to the right, it's kind of cut off on this plan that's displayed for you. But there's a sink, there's the safe, and there's a safe workbench there.
Yeah,
You can't really see the far wall of the building for some reason.
It's okay.
But in the back, all the way in the back, there's a server closet, utility closet, which are being repurposed that are already there, and the rear exit to the building.
All right, yeah, I would, first of all, I'd compliment, except for that little break on the right there, the drawing is great. I mean, it's great to
Thanks.
have all those things identified.
Yeah.
We don't we like to see it this way.
Yeah.
So it's very
I
good to
appreciate
see
that.
it
Thank
clear,
you.
concise,
Mhm.
and more importantly, legible, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
I'm sure.
So that's a big part of it. And everything seems to be in place here.
Mhm.
Maybe if we can just get a corrected copy to Heather,
Yeah,
just to
for sure. I
finish
can
off
send it.
that. But it certainly shows what we're looking to see in those two areas, even though they're not completely finished off. But if you can do that.
Yeah, I'll definitely get you an updated drawing that has the whole thing.
Okay. And again, as Angela mentioned earlier, there in that consult room is no computer, right?
Right. No, there's not going to be anything other than just a desk to have immunizations and a chair for a patient.
Okay.
So Justin, because you're going to license the whole area of
Correct.
the pharmacy, you have it locked with a keypad, you're actually allowed to store stuff in there.
Okay.
It's the consultation rooms that sit outside of the prescription department, and they sit in an area of a pharmacy. I shouldn't say that. They sit in an area of a store that's not legally a pharmacy, that we run into issues where they leave drugs and HIPAA compliant information on a computer. So in this case, because the whole
Premises.
print
Yeah.
is going to be a pharmacy,
Gotcha.
you're basically allowed to even have storage of product in there. You know, so,
Okay. Understood.
looks
And
good.
is there anything above you on the second floor?
There is no second floor. So yeah. There still will be floor to ceiling motion sensing just in case, but there's nothing up there but the roof.
And the name Unity was okay. There used to be Unity pharmacies back in the day that went out of
Yeah.
business.
Yeah,
it
so
was
actually,
available?
we have a Unity pharmacy in Bridgeport right now. So this is going to be
Okay.
the second one. So
Okay.
we're good.
All right, good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. You good, Commissioner
Yeah, no.
Carpenter? Commissioner Caffarelli, good?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank
Good to
you.
go.
Hey, very good. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, thank
Let's
you
move
all.
on to Fairhaven Community Healthcare on Grand Avenue. Is Brittany Miller here?
Oh, this is quite a drawing.
Yeah, but I think it's only the little circle we have to worry about.
Oh, okay.
That's the whole community here. That's the whole FQHC, I think.
It's
Brittany Miller?
FQHC.
Oh,
Brittany Miller.
Says that she's here.
I
Unmute.
saw her name on there, yeah.
Yeah.
Brittany? Dunkin' Donuts break? Brittany? All right, let's try
She's awesome.
Castro again while we wait for Brittany.
She's also a first-time manager, just so you know.
Yeah, I saw
Can
that.
you hear me
Brittany?
okay now?
there she is.
Can you
Yes,
hear me?
yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm having to use my video from my phone and then my computer audio so I can join the meeting. So I apologize.
Okay, that's way too much technology for me, Brittany. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Is there any physician ownership or any healthcare professional with prescription writing ability in Connecticut that has ownership in this pharmacy?
No,
Is there any computer, point of sale system, or other device that can access HIPAA information of patients that's going to sit outside of the prescription department?
No.
Very good.
That's what
Commissioner
I'm aware of.
Carberry, Commissioner Caffarelli.
Morning, Brittany.
Morning.
Good morning.
We're looking at a small little drawing here, so maybe you can, we know it's part of an FQHC, so obviously it's contained within the health center. Maybe kind of walk us through, the drawing is kind of small here. Thanks, Heather. How patients access, looks down towards the bottom on the right of that red line, but kind of walk us through and identify the areas. I see most of the items, the sink, the safe, the refrigerator, but kind of walk us through. Patients come in and how things are processed in the pharmacy.
So this is actually the first rendering that I've seen of our pharmacy location in Connecticut. So if you'd like, I can try to get Burke, who is the designer and setup of this
No.
pharmacy.
No, Brittany.
That's not going to
Okay.
work.
No, only the pharmacist manager can present the plan. Because
Okay, then I will make
the other
sure that
person's
he
not,
presents-
the other person's not going to be working there every day. Only you are.
Okay. So what I can do is I can rejoin then next month and have Berkeley walk me through the settings since I have not been on the site location yet.
Brittany, that was a very intelligent thing to say, because I was going
Yes.
to say, that's fair. Thank you.
Intelligent and honest. Thank
Okay,
you.
Yes, thank you.
no,
We
thank you. I
appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Really appreciate the
And I will-
transparency, Brittany.
Oh, gosh, no problem. And I will join everyone then at the end of October.
Very
But
good.
Brittany,
Brittany,
hold on a
listen.
second.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
would suggest you stay on for first-time manager today, though,
sure. Okay, okay,
so
Yes.
you can get that out of the way, okay?
okay. Sounds good.
The other thing is, though, your video is currently not working. It's just a black screen. So if you can try to figure out how to get that to work before we get to that point, okay?
I think I'm on twice. So I should have two profiles actually.
Yeah, I see both your profiles.
So my video was just working. Let me see if I can identify that again.
Do you guys see her?
No, just the name.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so
I will
just,
get this
you know,
working and
Yep,
we'll be right back.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back and see if Costco Wholesale is in the house. Costco? Vanessa? Okay, let's move on to pharmacy relocations. Pharmacy relocations, Brookfield Pharmacy Compounding. Melissa McFarland. Melissa, are you here?
Yes. Hi, how are you?
Morning, Melissa. How are you?
Good.
Since this is a relocation, we don't have to swear you in. Commissioner Carberry, Commissioner Caffarelli.
Thank
Good
you.
morning.
Melissa, it looks like on this drawing, and maybe it's just on my screen, but at the top, we're missing part. I'm trying to access the
Yeah, me too.
unit 2B versus unit. First question, I guess, is designate suite 1 versus suite 2. Where are you relocating from? I don't know what is suite 1.
So the pharmacy license downstairs is currently just a regular pharmacy license, and Jim, the owner, is planning to reopen upstairs and reopen the sterile compounding pharmacy. And these are the plans for the new pharmacy. And when we do that, we're transferring the license upstairs.
Whoa, say that again in slow motion.
Yeah.
So currently the 1B suite pharmacy license is just a pharmacy license. It is not a sterile compounding because we are a manufacturer in 1B, a 503B. And he's transferring the pharmacy license to upstairs and wants to reopen the sterile compounding pharmacy. And these are the plans for the new pharmacy.
Jim, are you on?
Yeah, this was.
Explain yourself.
Yeah, really.
I'm Jim
I'm
Cangelosi,
confused
yeah.
too.
Okay, so this was the old 2B pharmacy that I'm refurbishing. So,
Does 2B have an active license now?
no.
So you can't, how are you going to relocate a license that doesn't exist?
Well, we have a
Okay,
license downstairs that's retail or like a regular pharmacy license that we really don't need. We're a 503B. So why have two pharmacy licenses? Why don't we just move the license downstairs upstairs?
Why do you always, it's amazing how you do this to us because this is an interesting one. So you have you have an active pharmacy license, correct?
Right.
That this drawing right now depicts.
No.
No, this is the old 2B pharmacy that was closed 3.5 years ago.
Okay, so this is an empty, vacant,
Right.
Suite.
Has
an
no
empty,
drugs,
vacant
nothing.
suite.
Right.
And you have a pharmacy license below it in a different suite. And you
Right.
want to take that pharmacy license
And move it
and
upstairs.
move it upstairs. But that pharmacy license is also acting as a 503 right now.
Well, yeah, but we have a separate license for the 503B as a manufacturer.
Okay, so
So-
you're going to separate the two licenses because you don't need a pharmacy license for a
And the
manufacturer.
503B, right.
Okay,
But Jim, the space upstairs is brand new in terms of functioning as a sterile compounding pharmacy, correct?
Well, we have to refurbish it. We have to, knock down walls and you know, make it into the 21st century. You know, I mean, it's the new standards, and you know,
Yep.
we're gonna have a dirty ante room and a clean ante room, and you know, it's gonna be done correctly, and you know, in with you know, with all the bells and whistles that weren't available in 2002. So.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Were you here before? I seem to recall there was this pharmacy was before the commission, because wasn't it all one pharmacy and there was a challenge with that? Upstairs and downstairs were connected.
Yes.
Well, we had a flood.
No, that's not what it
No?
was. No. Yeah,
No,
you're correct.
back
That
in
was-
the day, right?
You wanted to do
Yeah,
the
it
dumbbell
was
thing,
way-
dumb waiter.
Right. Okay.
Pre-COVID,
Yeah.
pre-COVID, yeah. We had
Got
been
it.
trying to see if we can connect the two somehow.
Oh,
but
right,
we
right,
right,
decided
Okay.
not to do that.
Yep. Gotcha. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That was a long time ago. That was
Right.
pre-COVID.
Okay,
well,
I guess Commissioner Carberry, Commissioner Caffarelli,
I have one question. What's going downstairs? What's going to be downstairs then?
it's the same. It's the 503B. It's,
So
Heather,
you're not getting, no
Right.
pharmacy down there.
yeah, we're not changing that. I mean, but we don't need a pharmacy license down there. It's a
so
manufacturer.
what he's saying is to be a manufacturer, he doesn't have to have a retail pharmacy license. So he's had a retail pharmacy license downstairs, an active one, correct?
Right.
Heather, it's an
Right.
active license.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
but he's only been doing manufacturing out of it. And since you don't need a
Okay.
retail pharmacy license, he's going to move the pharmacy license upstairs, create a new
Got it.
sterile compounding pharmacy upstairs in his old suite that needs to be refurbished and still have his manufacturing license downstairs. Am I correct, Jim?
Exactly. Yeah, why have two pharmacy licenses, you know?
I don't know. I have 5 of them.
Yeah,
So
but they're all different areas.
all right, Commissioner Carberry, Commissioner Caffarelli.
So so this is an upstairs pharmacy. It's separate entrance, separate exit from downstairs for patients.
Exactly, yeah.
That means like a stairway. I can't see how patients are accessing this pharmacy upstairs in this drawing.
So I can actually explain it to you if you want. So where it says common hallway
Uh-huh.
on the, right where the pointer is actually, that is where you would enter into the facility. And where this says the 33, that's the extent of where this little section right there is where the patients are allowed to come in.
So how do they access from outside? Up through a stairwell?
Oh, yeah,
Elevator?
it's a building that has multiple floors. There's 3 floors and there's a suite. So right outside that hallway is where the entrance to the main entrance is. Where the common hallway is. That's how they come into the main building.
Okay. And how does the patient access the counseling room in the lower left corner? Has to
We
walk
would
all the way
have
through the
to-
pharmacy
we would have
work
to bring
area?
them into that office.
You have to walk them through the pharmacy
Right.
where the pharmacists are working?
Well, the thing is, well, yeah, right. Well, I mean, the thing is, I
Most
mean,
of production, the pharmacist working will be in the back area, in the compounding area, and in the office. There's no like pharmacy working in the main area, but it's mostly going to be compounding.
it's 100% compounding.
It's gonna
Right,
be
but I'm saying
car
you
compounding.
walk, patients are coming, when patients come in, where they walk in through there,
Right.
how do they interact with the pharmacist? How do they pay for their prescriptions? What do they do?
Right at that where it says the 3.3, that's the pharmacy counter. Right there,
Right.
yes. That's the pharmacy counter.
Yeah, I mean, the drawing is not great. I'm sorry to say, but it's really
Yeah,
kind of,
the guys that did my last drawing, they're like 8 weeks behind. So I had the contractor did this.
yeah. Should have
Hey,
hired the
Jim,
guy.
you
from
can
last
tell.
time.
You can tell.
From Unity.
You can tell a
You can tell,
contractor.
it's- Yeah, it's really difficult to follow this drawing, unfortunately.
So will the
Um,
patients be walking past medication storage? I guess that's not clear to me.
That's my other concern.
Yeah,
Commissioner Guante, definitely.
Well,
They're gonna have access to that.
Well, all the medication storage is going to be in, the areas that we're doing the compounding.
Jim, I think we all feel a little more comfortable if the patient counseling room that you also have office slash was in front of the pharmacy counter where the patient doesn't have to walk through basically the prescription department,
Okay, well, we could put you see where the counter ends, 3.3
Yes.
feet, 3 inches right there.
Yeah.
There is there is like a swinging door, okay? That's, to prevent anybody from going in the back. And we can put the patient counseling right at the beginning, where you first walk in, where it says 3 feet.
Yeah, well, see where the pointer is, a door to stop there, and then use that office as the counseling room would seem. Now, I'm not the contractor or the design artist, but as you can see, all the commissioners don't feel comfortable with a patient walking through the compounding area and the drugs and the
Would it
pharmacy.
be, so you're saying where it says the other office would be
Yeah.
acceptable?
Yeah,
That's
as
fine.
long as there's a door where Heather has the pointer now, right there. That's it.
But yeah, that's totally fine, because the thing is, we don't really have anybody coming into this.
No, I understand that, but if you're gonna
Well-
label it that way,
Right,
we have to approve it as such when the
absolutely.
drug control
All right.
agents come in. So you
That's
would have been
fine.
better off just to call it an office and said you didn't have a patient counseling area.
Right.
Right.
I just thought we had to have something,
No, you can have a stand-up counseling at the 3.3.
Okay.
No
Yeah,
one says you have to have a closed room.
okay. That's fine.
All right, why don't you continue, Rick and Brian? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, maybe walk through there's another common hallway door up farther above. What's going on in all those areas there?
That's just an emergency exit. That's locked.
So where it says buffer and refridge and safe and all those things at the top left, that's the
Okay,
emergency exit?
so let me walk you through this, because this is, I sent in another one, but I guess you don't have it. It was a
Well,
little
we need
bit-
it. We need it.
Wait, is this
This is the
plan?
updated one. This is the updated one.
Oh, okay, thank you, Heather.
Right, so this is up there.
This
Okay,
is
fine.
the last one that I received, because I even have it labeled updated.
I sent you one, I think I sent you one yesterday.
This is the one that I received. This is the last one that I received. Is it, you have another different one?
Yeah, well, I mean, it has a little bit more explanation on it as far as the rooms.
Okay, you know what, Jim? No matter what, you're gonna have to redesign this or relabel it to get it to Heather.
Okay,
So I don't know if we're gonna be able to approve something we can't see.
well,
know,
okay, well, I mean, we can do this again in October. Angela, this is going to take
I know,
4 or 5 or 6.
and that's why I'm recommending it, because I know it's gonna take a while to make it 797 compliant and how
Exactly.
long it takes. And I know how far back the contractors are and the sterile guys are in these days. So why don't we make this correct? Get the best version possible, get it to Heather so that we can go forward and really truly understand what we're looking at.
Okay, all right. all
Barbara,
right, so,
Commissioner Caffarelli, are you okay with that?
Yes, Mr.
Absolutely.
Chair, I like that idea.
Definitely.
yeah, we can, I'll send in a little bit more clarification, and we can do this next month.
Yeah, and
Okay.
see if the contractor can use like a straight edge or a ruler this time, something nice.
Well, hopefully I can get this to somebody that actually
Well,
does designs.
That would be a great idea.
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
All right,
That'd be helpful.
Okay, I'll
Thank
see
you,
Next
Jim.
month.
thank you.
Good to see you.
Okay, one more thing. Does, because I'm going to be the manager for this I plan on being the manager right at the get-go, and then eventually handing this off to another person that I've hired.
Okay,
But I'm going to be the manager for now, because I need to make
That's
sure
fine.
that everything's
you've been
correct.
a manager in the state of Connecticut before, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So-
that's no issue. You just have to fill out a new pharmacy manager application, get it to Heather. That's approved, and then it'll be your name on the license. And then when you have another pharmacy manager, you put in.
Right.
You
for-
just don't need me for the next meeting, right?
That's what I'm
As
getting.
long as
long
the change of
if
manager,
you're the manager of record, right, Heather?
right, as
There's no
long as the
manager
change of
upstairs.
manager is completed prior to the meeting, then you won't have, it'll be the manager that will attend. Whoever's
So I can
listed as
fill
the
that
pharmacy
out.
manager.
So he can fill that out now, even though it's not open yet and he doesn't have a license.
Well,
No, he does have a
What do you
license.
mean he doesn't
It's
have a license?
downstairs. He
No,
does have.
I could be the manager for the
But down
pharmacy.
here.
That's right.
You
You'd have to be the
change that
manager
to
downstairs.
Correct.
Which means minimum 35 hours a week open, and you have to be there 35 hours a week. So remember,
I'm here.
I know that, Jim, but I just want to be clear in case you get an inspection.
Yeah,
All right.
okay. Yeah, that
Let's
sounds
move
good.
on.
All right, see
Thank
you
you,
next
Jim.
month.
Yeah, let's move on to CVS Pharmacy number 11072. From a drawing with not so much detail to a very detailed drawing. Is
Yeah,
is
fortunately.
CVS West Hartford here? CVS West Hartford? It's today like a vacation day for everybody? I'm just
I
curious.
think it's Jenna.
Jenna,
I see her there.
unmute. What's the trick on the telephone? Isn't there a trick on the telephone? You have to do something.
Star,
What was it?
star.
R6,
Star six?
I think so, on the top, if you're on the phone.
Yeah.
I
CVS
see her.
Pharmacy?
I see her.
Hi, can you hear me now?
There you
Can you
go.
guys hear me
Yeah,
now? All right, I had to call in with my phone separately from my computer. Fun stuff.
Another one.
I know, I don't know what's going on here today,
I
but
don't know. Well,
here
well,
we
good
are.
morning.
Morning.
Commissioner
Good morning.
Carpenter, Commissioner Caffarelli.
good morning.
Good morning, Jenna. Can we just, I don't know if we can flip this over. Heather,
so,
but this is a very simple one. This is very simple. It's just removing an
Yeah.
SQ 200, putting some new gondolas in. If you look on the left, you can see the SP 200. That's going, the gondolas are being taken out. And then you go over to the right and you can see the new gondolas being placed in. Three lateral there and then one vertical down below at number 5 and 9. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Not much going on here at all. Everything's all done internally within the department. So I see no issues at all here at all.
Commissioner Caffarelli?
I agree with Commissioner Carberry.
So you're
Very, very
removing-
clear drawing. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're removing the SP 200 completely, Jenna?
yeah, we're taking it out. It's not a super high volume store, so they don't really need it as much as probably someone else does. So we're gonna remove that, put some static shelving up and get them a little more room and make it look
Great.
nice for them.
Super. Any other questions, Commissioner?
No,
Commissioner
all set.
All right, Jenna, very good. Thank you. I'm going to try Costco just one more time. Since they made me print 8 sheets of paper. Costco, are you here? I guess not. Okay, let's take a vote on this. In terms of Costco wholesale, they were no show today, so they'll have to file again for next month. On Unity Pharmacy, 1351 Whaley Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut. What is your pleasure?
Motion to approve as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so moved. Fairhaven Community Healthcare has been tabled for next month. Pharmacy relocations, Brookfield Pharmacy Compounding has been tabled for next month. As far as pharmacy remodel, CVS Pharmacy 11072 North Main Street, West Hartford. What is your pleasure?
Motion to approve as presented.
I hear a
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, so moved.
40% today, 2 out of 5, 40%.
I know, 2 out of 5. If it was baseball, I'd be in the Hall of Fame, but it's not baseball.
If Debbie were here, I think you probably would have had 5 out of 5.
No.
No, I don't know. All right, Legal Matters is our trusted Esquire Attorney Ando in the house. Oh, no, not another one. Michael?
I saw
Good
him on
morning.
here earlier.
Good morning, Attorney Endo. How are you?
Good. I was just building a little suspense there, looking for the button.
Hey, if I had an eject button, I'd be pushing it a lot during these virtual meetings. I'll tell you that. How are you today, Esquire?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. I see we have two cases before us. Case number 2021-30. Nice to see we made it to the year 2021 now. So,
There we
I know
go.
we've been working on some old ones.
Yeah, clearing some things out.
What can you tell us about this case, sir?
So this is a case, both of the cases that are actually on the agenda today are related to a similar underlying set of incidents, let's say. So in this case, there was a loss report that was received by the Drug Control Division and the DEA. It involved I believe a little bit over 200 tablets of Schedule 2 and Schedule 3 controlled substances. It resulted in contact with individuals at the corporate level with this organization who conducted their own or were in the process of conducting their own investigation that led to an audit of every drug at the pharmacy. During the course of this, some of these drugs were located, but there were still just about 100 opiate tablets that were not recovered. No one really knows what happened to these tablets. So in this case, we're looking at a pharmacy manager. During the course of this investigation, there were some problems that were discovered at the pharmacy in terms of the storage of drugs and the keeping of records. While most of the charges here that concerned this pharmacy manager were not directly about actions taken by the pharmacy manager, there were some failures in terms of both record keeping on what was actually being dispensed, things going in and out of the pharmacy, the controls that were actually moving in and out, and also just general filing in terms of record keeping of what drugs were actually in the pharmacy at a given time. It led to some confusion here. Part of the issue here was that there was a delay between the losses and the reporting of the losses. So that and in combination with some other sort of more general security issues, maintaining a secure area, ensuring that that area was not accessible to individuals who were not pharmacists, not employees of the pharmacy directly and trained to be in that area. The reporting is an issue that we're seeing a little bit of. I actually will probably touch on that in my update area, after the cases. But also just in this case, dealing with not always storing every controlled substance in an approved safe, or locking wood cabinet or dispersed throughout the stock as appropriate, as we see defined in the statute. So in this case, this individual is no longer with that pharmacy. Our agreement here today calls for an additional probationary period. This person has not been with this pharmacy in this situation for, I believe at this point it would be close to 4 months. So this calls for an additional probationary period of 3 months from the effective date of the agreement. During this period, if they are engaged in the practice of pharmacy, they should maintain the additional security measures that were recommended by the agents during the course of the investigation. Things like the safe, ensuring that all drugs were appropriately locked in the safe, ensuring that no one would have access to the pharmacy area who should not under the statutes and regulations. And during this period, most importantly, this individual would not be a pharmacy manager. Additionally, there would be a voluntary settlement payment of $1,500. This individual was extremely cooperative with our investigation. Additionally, they have engaged in some training on their own voluntarily in terms of better understanding perhaps where there were missing pieces of pharmacy management. So in order to better understand the role of pharmacy manager, at this point, the individuals also indicated to us they don't particularly have interest in taking on a role of that nature again with management responsibilities. But we think this is appropriate because if there had not been certain voluntary actions and if this individual was still acting as a pharmacy manager, I would have pursued a longer time period of probation. In this case, it just did not seem necessary. So during the course of our compliance meetings and during the course of discussions with this individual, it just seemed appropriate to have a shorter period because the same ends that we would have hoped to affect by agreement took their course naturally. If anyone has any questions, feel free, or concerns.
Attorney Endo, was there any step down, Commissioner?
Not on this case.
Well, you stole my thunder a bit, and obviously, if there's any other commissioners also that have any questions, I thought, and the way you explained it, I thought that perhaps the probationary period and the time frame that the pharmacist cannot be a manager was minimal. You know, and whether the person, he or she is a pharmacy manager or a staff pharmacist, they still have to follow all the proper protocol to stop diversion from happening. And it sounds as though this goes against almost every lecture I've ever given to first-time managers. Has this manager ever had any issues before?
No, there are no disciplinary issues in this individual's record with drug control.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Attorney Ando concerning this case?
Well, I'm not sure if this would have been something where, if there was a step down commissioner, there might have been maybe a different trajectory here on the, next steps.
Yeah, Attorney Ando, I can understand why we don't have step downs because there is, and I hate to use this term, I wish I had a better way to express this, but I don't, of some rubber stamping types of consequences for some of the issues. But this is one where a step down manager, especially there's a few talented ones on this board that have experienced this over and over and understand it, that where they would have come in really handy to have a step down in this one. This one I could see. And was there any robotics in this pharmacy? Pill counting machines, robotics?
I'm not aware of any that would be an issue here. I'm not aware of any in general, but I don't want to make that absolute because I would have to, it was not an aspect of the investigation reporting. I don't believe it was that element here.
Commissioner Carberry, seems like you have a question.
No, I was just going to comment the same way. This would have been a good one for someone to step down on because the expertise would have been helpful, I think, to really put a good picture on how this should have been handled. I mean, it's being adjudicated properly now, but I think it would have been helpful if one of us was there.
Attorney Ando, one last question. I'm not sure if you know this information. Is this a first-time pharmacy manager with not that much experience, or is this a pharmacy manager that has been a pharmacy manager for a long time? Because that'll go a long ways in terms of maybe what recommendations I may make. Do you have any idea?
Well, I guess the question, what qualifies as a long time?
Experience.
And I hate to get overly lawyery with you with the question there.
Has he been a pharmacy manager for less than a year? How's that? Or he or she?
Let me try to double check on that. I mean, I would not consider it a long time, and I can't
Okay,
off the top of my head because I didn't make myself a note about that. He was not a pharmacy manager for an extended period of time. It was not his intention to be a permanent pharmacy manager at this location. I want to say that it was less than a year. I'm not positive if that's the case.
okay,
It was not a role that he had intended to continue, which was not a statement that I only heard from
okay.
this individual.
So just in brief, tell us exactly what the proposed resolution is one more time, so we have it in our head on whether or not we think it suffices.
So in brief, the terms that would apply to the licensee would be a probationary status of 3 months, during which time he would maintain any additional security measures ordered and implemented during the investigation. So that would be the things like, obviously, proper security and storage of drugs, proper reporting. As we know, these are primarily things that pharmacists should be doing anyway. Additionally, he would not be allowed to be a pharmacy manager during that period, and a voluntary settlement payment of $1,500. I feel that I should also note, this is not the only case that came out of this situation.
Okay. I guess the Robert's rules is we vote on this, and then we can also make recommendations to Attorney Ando after we vote on this.
Yeah, that
Yes,
sounds-
yes, Commissioner Caffarelli.
So can Attorney Ando, could you just refresh my memory here? How many, what are the amount of losses that we're talking about in this case?
Approximately 100 Schedule II controlled substances.
Okay.
Tablets. 100 tablets. And there's partially due to late reporting, or potentially partially due to late reporting of losses. It was the pharmacy itself, the pharmacy manager, this individual, and all of the pharmacists on staff. No one was able to determine conclusively what ultimately happened with these drugs. There was in this case some significant contention between some parties. There were different theories depending on who you spoke to about where those drugs went, but it was impossible to determine conclusively ultimately where they ended up.
But was it just more negligence, or was there a suspicion of diversion? Or you can't answer that?
Well, unfortunately, it's difficult to say. I mean, I don't know. I haven't been in a fact finding or finding a fact situation here. But in the charging and in the alleged violations that went into this final agreement, diversion on the part of this licensee was not something that felt appropriate.
Okay.
Diversion is not an alleged violation in the cases that are coming out of this incident. By the time it was investigated, and by the time, and not that it was even that extraordinarily long a period, there just wasn't sufficient evidence to be certain about a charge of that nature.
And so and this person has agreed not to serve as a pharmacy manager ever again?
The indication that I have received from him is that he's not interested in serving as a pharmacy manager ever again. But this agreement would be for a period of 3 months.
Oh, I see. And did you contemplate did you contemplate the pharmacy manager class if they're returning to becoming a pharmacy manager?
We actually had a discussion about that, yes.
Okay.
He's also taken some steps on his own to learn about those responsibilities, those attendant responsibilities. And if I may for a moment, just very quickly return to the diversion question.
Sure.
I would like to comment that I do have conclusive, I believe, reason to think that there's not an abuse element to this. And I do have significant and conclusive reason to believe that if ever anyone involved had an abuse issue, this individual certainly provided adequate evidence that he was not a user of controlled substances.
And you said this is his first or her first kind of, there's no prior history of why am I'm having a total brain freeze here, but with the interaction with charging from the department.
Yes,
Okay.
clean disciplinary record, and they're
Correct.
obviously
Yeah,
part of
that's
that
what
is
I
that they wouldn't have had a prior management issue either, because they had not had any kind of issue with us.
All right.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? Any other questions for Attorney Ando? So basically, Attorney Ando, the department is convinced that it's very sloppy record keeping and incredibly poor oversight that may have led to this loss. Is that fair? Is that a fair thing to say?
I think
Not sure
that
he could say it.
I think it's fair to say that those are significant components. As I said, this case does intersect with other cases.
Okay.
This case, while it was a broad investigation, and while aspects of this investigation are going to relate to this case, they're also going to relate to other cases. I don't.
Okay.
I do think that is an appropriate, description.
I think it's very evident how sensitive this is to us commissioners.
Absolutely.
And so, we have a heightened responsibility with diversion and loss of drug, especially, any loss of drug, even if it's not a scheduled drug, but with Schedule 2 and Schedule 3, we have a heightened responsibility for that. And we have to nip it in the bud when we can, and we have to make sure that there's proper gatekeeping in place. So we're very sensitive to that. And again, perhaps another reason why a step down commissioner would have been a prudent thing to do in this case, just for the future. Any other questions for Attorney Ando?
Yes, Chairman, again, I understand this person is saying that they have no interest to be involved in pharmacy management or leadership going forward. However, the fact of the matter is there's this situation, and, I think that taking that course, the new pharmacy manager course, is totally indicated here, regardless of career pathway going forward. Who knows in 5 years or something like that. And again, not to provide this individual with the didactic correct information attributed to success and compliance, I think we would be remiss. And just my comments.
And we can add that, Commissioner Nguante, to the proposed resolution and take a vote on that. That's fair. And I just happen to have it handy. It's pharmacy.uconn.edu, and it's called Constant State of Readiness is the name of the CE for pharmacist manager. And there's the last 6 or 7 slides concentrates on exactly this, the proper record keeping and readiness and gatekeeping that a pharmacy manager must have over all the drugs, and in particular the 2s and the 3s. So I'm more than willing to add that to the proposed resolution before we take a vote, if the commissioners are are okay with that. Commissioner Caffarelli, Commissioner Carbray, Commissioner Nguante.
Yes, Chairman, I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it.
Good recommendation, Mary. All right, any other questions for Attorney Ando? Okay, hearing none, I will accept the motion for the proposed resolution of 3 months probation, 3 months no pharmacy manager during the probation, and also a $1,500 settlement payment, also inclusive of a constant state of readiness pharmacy manager CE at pharmacy.uconn.edu. Do I hear a motion to accept?
I'll move. So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Thank you, Attorney Ando. Moving on to case number, staying in the same year. 44 cases after. Case 2021-74. What do you have for us here, sir?
This individual came out of the same investigation. It is a pharmacist at the same pharmacy. During the course of that investigation, this was an individual who, I can say that directly, the investigation evidence included video. This individual allowed individuals from outside of the pharmacy to access the pharmacy, including time socializing in the pharmacy area, not pharmacists, not technicians. Also, the video included some time in which he would have occasionally some interactions behind closed doors with certain of these individuals in a separate consultation room to the side of the pharmacy, leaving the pharmacy unattended for a period of 10 minutes or so, and then returning and continuing to socialize with these individuals. In this case, we have an agreement that calls for a voluntary civil penalty, voluntary civil payment of $1,000. Ultimately, I think we see here a lot of the same types of issues with things not being adequately secured, with granting individuals access to the pharmacy and sort of generally allowing for a more lax security protocol than would be appropriate under the statutes and regulations in the state. This individual was obviously, during the course of the investigation, spoke with our agents about all of the issues that were surrounding this, including the loss of drugs. There is not any, similarly, not any specific reason to think that this individual was involved in diversion of drugs. However, these missing drugs were lost during periods when that pharmacist was present in the pharmacy. I think there are greater concern here and our more specific concern in terms of the allegations that the charges that were alleged ultimately in the agreement are the individuals who are allowed to access the pharmacy area inappropriately, and the time spent with some of those individuals outside of the pharmacy area that would have allowed for potential access by other individuals as well. So we feel this is appropriate. This individual does not have a history of disciplined, finalized enforcement actions with the Drug Control Division. However, we feel that this would be an appropriate resolution just to drive the point home and ensure that they're aware of the significance of these statutes and regulations pertaining to security and access by individuals who should be restricted. And I think that generally addresses the case. I don't know if you have any questions. Obviously I said they're the same underlying global circumstance set here. They're not obviously identical in terms of interactions and specific concerns in the investigation. This is one of those things where a pharmacy and a pharmacy manager may share some responsibility with the pharmacist in terms of the violations of statutes and regulations should have been addressed earlier than they were. But by the same token, the type of access that we had, the type of activity and having non-pharmacists and non-technicians just sort of in back freely with drugs that weren't always properly secured are things that we think should be addressed here. This individual is also no longer in the employ of that pharmacy.
So just to be clear, Attorney Ando, there also was not a step down in this case, but this case is related to the other case and the losses are identical, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And this person was a licensed pharmacist, just not the pharmacist manager. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Which,
Wow.
now, was the pharmacist manager ever there while this person entertained non-pharmacy personnel in the pharmacy and in the counseling area?
Not to our knowledge.
Which
some of
again,
these,
go ahead.
some of the interactions on video were after pharmacy hours. So all other staff had left.
Sounds like
I
a
guess
lot of poor leadership here, poor leadership from the top down. I'm just, my concern here is that this is almost as egregious as what the pharmacist manager did, but there's no probationary period and there's no restriction of pharmacy manager, and the fine is $500 less. I understand that the manager has oversight and gatekeeping, so I can see why the penalty should be maybe more for the boss or the person that is responsible for that. But as I stated before, the staff pharmacist is still incredibly responsible for the security of the pharmacy, whether or not the pharmacy manager is there or not, and has to act professionally and create their own security culture, whether they're the manager or not. So I'm just curious as to why there wasn't a suspension. No, I apologize. There wasn't a probationary period put on this particular pharmacist.
In part because neither of these pharmacists are currently acting as pharmacists on the basis of their involvement here. They were both terminated. There is not necessarily access to the pharmacy through the consultation room or around the consultation room in a physical sense was not an
issue.
Yeah, for lack of a better term.
I understand.
Anyone who was trying to access would have had to go through the consultation room. So in that sense, it wasn't as direct of a physical access issue. There's also there's also an element of parts of this are, I mean, it's certainly inappropriate behavior. Some of these things should have been handled up the chain, I think was some of the sense. I'm not, I mean, if the commission feels that, a different approach would be more appropriate, then I will just take it back and go through this again. I mean, that's not inappropriate. I mean, if you feel that more should be.
Commissioners, any questions for Attorney Ando, or any recommendations or any ideas or thoughts?
I would just again reiterate that this is a perfect example because of the complexity of this whole case. Duplicate situations going on with two pharmacists would have been better in front of commissioners to really drill down. I would have loved to sat face to face with these pharmacists and had a really, discussion. So they could talk pharmacist to pharmacist, and I think a lot more insight would have come out of it, and we probably could have expressed more severe punishment up front. It's a perfect case for that, I think.
I will say that that is a conversation that I also had with the agents after we concluded these compliance meetings. It was not my sense entering into the case. It was, I'm in complete agreement with you having passed through the case.
Any other questions or comments or ideas or thoughts?
Yeah, so what exactly is our recommendation for this individual? Because I just think this is so egregious. I mean, you learn it when you're a technician, you learn it when you're a student. It's just, again, professional environment, secure environment. I'm pretty kind of shocked at this. So what are we exactly recommending for this as a consequence?
It is the consequence, in essence, is the $1,000 voluntary civil penalty payment.
And no suspension or reprimand or anything. And this is someone who has willful disregard for their license and the practice, in my opinion. And I worked in pharmacy for a lot of years and worked with a lot of people and supervised a lot of people to this day. So that's why I'm just a little, yeah, he can write a check for $1,000, of course, or she. But again, so I'm not sure how anyone is to learn going forward that this was super unacceptable. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you, Commissioner Guante. I was going to make the suggestion that the proposed resolution should be identical except for the $500. That difference. That's what I was going to propose, because one is just as egregious as the other. And I, to be frank, I kind of wish that this was also bundled in with the other case, because I may have thought of it completely different if they were both bundled together and they weren't done as a separate case. But since we already voted on the first one, that we can't really do anything about that now, but that would be my recommendation. Attorney Ando, do you need to bring that back? I'm not sure if they're represented by counsel, or we'll take a vote on it right now for that new proposed resolution of 3 months probation, 3 months no pharmacy manager, and $1,000 voluntary fine. Now, is this pharmacist ever been a pharmacist manager before in the past? Because if they have, then I would also recommend the CE, but if they haven't, I wouldn't.
I'm not aware of them having been a manager in the past. I wouldn't say for 100% certain without going back through their history, but I do not believe so.
Okay. I don't think I can, it wouldn't be appropriate to mandate that, since they may never have the wherewithal or want to be a pharmacy manager in the future. So I don't think I can say you have to take the pharmacy manager CE. But the pharmacy manager, of course, that would be a recommended mandate because they are a pharmacy manager. So that's logical. But I'm willing to adjust the proposed resolution as I stated before. I don't know how the other commissioners feel about it.
I agree.
I agree.
Commissioner Caffarelli?
Yeah, I agree. I think that they would benefit from a class as well. But I hear what you're saying about the manager aspect, but I think it does teach a lot to any pharmacist, regardless of whether or not they're managing based on what I've seen online.
Okay, I like that. Let's add that too then. So I'll actually make the motion in this, and I'll make the motion for the proposed resolution in case 2021-74 be a 3-month probation with 3 months no pharmacy manager ability, plus $1,000 voluntary settlement, and also inclusive the pharmacy.uconn.edu constant state of readiness CE as the resolution. I made that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Anything else, Attorney Ando? Any statistics? Is this becoming a pattern, this loss of, is there more of these losses coming forward?
I wouldn't necessarily say that there are more losses than we've, typically seen. One thing I would say, and I would point out, especially given your opportunity to speak directly with new managers, is stress the importance of loss reports and the associated quality assurance reports.
Right
because
there.
one thing we are definitely seeing is the cases have become more complicated with a lot of these late reports recently. It makes it very difficult to disentangle. It doesn't actually have the, I don't know what the desired effect is when someone doesn't report a loss, but it doesn't have an impact of making the loss less detrimental to the pharmacist or the pharmacy. Often it sort of spider webs out into other charges. And it also, it creates a much larger situation where there are more people being brought into it from, the DEA is going to go in and do an audit now, and the distributor is going to do an audit. And where did this loss occur in the supply chain? Was it a delivery problem? Was it a diversion problem? Was it, it makes it much harder to track things down because once time has passed, video might no longer be accessible, and clear records might no longer be accessible, and ways that can allow you to determine the point of loss or accidental waste or failure to deliver or any number of other potential problems, and that can often lead to multiple people being implicated where there might in fact be one fairly simple explanation. So that's a problem that we're seeing more of. I don't know why it's become, or it appears to have become, a more frequent component of cases, but it does make it significantly more difficult, and not just for the drug control agents, just for everyone involved. It really expands the scope of some of those cases. So report losses, it's much easier, and you're better off because they will eventually come out anyway. And then the other kind of bump in cases that we've seen recently is continuing with the prescription monitoring program. Enforcement has been increased significantly. Those cases are coming out, and the way that they're falling, once the investigation gets going, is sometimes it's involving or implicating pharmacists, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's more about the doctor or prescriber, as the case may be, APRN. But it's sort of a new enforcement drive, and that I think people should be aware of. We've talked about this a little bit in the past with pharmacists being sort of the last line of defense when there are problems or bad prescription writing or that kind of thing. We're seeing a lot. We're seeing significant CPMRS, PMP monitoring program violation cases, whereas we hadn't necessarily seen them a few years ago. So it's just something everyone should be aware of. Otherwise, we I would say probably have about an average number of things that are sort of routine, like dispensing errors from pharmacists. Maybe even a little low this month. I've only seen a couple new ones in the last couple weeks, so that's probably good. But otherwise, just sort of business as usual somewhat.
Thank you, Attorney Ando. Thank you for that advice. And it's one of the reasons why I pushed first-time managers after. We used to do first-time managers first thing, but I want the first-time managers to hear these cases, to hear what happens, and hopefully they won't repeat some of the things that they heard today. Anything else, Attorney Ando?
Nope, not at this time.
Well, thank you very much, sir. See you next month.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, let's move on to first-time managers. Now, this is where I test my linguistic skills. So I'm going to call the names down the list as they appear on the agenda. Have your microphones on, and let's make sure that we can see you with the camera. As I stated at the beginning of the meeting, if I can't see you, we can't approve you. So we're going to go down, and Heather, I'll need some of your help to make sure I can see everybody. I know that there's been some digital situations out there, but let's see if we can get through this. Brittany Miller, I know you're here. Brittany, are you here? Brittany? Brittany?
Can you hear me at all?
I can
I'm
now,
here.
thank you.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you. I'm here.
okay, Blake Detterman,
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
I don't know why.
Blake.
I don't know why my video isn't on though. It's just not showing up.
Hit the little top button and start video.
Where is that located at? Because I don't see that. I'm on the desktop version and I don't see.
It should be in the upper right hand, 3 little dots, you hit it, and it says start video. Hi, Brittany, we can see you now.
Right here.
All right, why don't you work on that and I'll go down the list.
Okay.
Blake is in the house. Melinda Fragomelli. Melinda? Melinda?
I'm
Going
here.
once? Okay, very good. Thank you. Kofi Apaya. Is
I'm
Kofi?
here.
Thank you, Kofi. Maya James.
I'm
There's
here.
Blake.
It's
Good, Blake.
Mia.
Thank you. Thank you, Maya. Kevin Lee.
Here.
Very good. Aruj Ahmed.
Good morning. I'm here.
Good morning, Aruj. Suzanne Sliker.
I'm here.
Thank you, Suzanne. Cynthia Enright. Cynthia? Cynthia? Heather, do you see the name?
I do not.
You do not, okay. Alexander Bukas.
Hey, good morning. I'm here.
Good morning, good. Samantha Copeland.
Good morning. I'm here.
Good morning, Samantha. Alexander DeRaps. Alexander? Heather, do you see the name?
Not on panelist side. Let me just check.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay,
No.
very good. Wafa E. Solomon Ewis.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Wafa.
Thank you.
Asia Paul.
Morning, I'm here.
Good morning. Rui Vasa. Rui. Heather, anything?
Nope.
Okay. Mohammed Sarpas.
Hi, I'm here.
Very good. Is there anyone here whose name I didn't call? Okay, I'm going to try the ones that didn't answer just one more time. Cynthia Enright. Alexander DeRaps. Rui Vasa. Okay. Well, you probably say, why do we do this? I wish it could truly be face-to-face. It would be that much better, but we have to do this virtually. And, you know, we like to stress some of the things that take place, what we see in terms of pharmacy manager. We like to, here in Connecticut, we do a face-to-face. Many states don't do that, but there's such a tremendous responsibility that goes along with a pharmacist manager position. And it's a leadership position. And you can see from what you heard today from the cases that when the leadership breaks down, a lot of other things break down. And there could be some very serious consequences when that leadership or that responsibility of a pharmacist manager doesn't uphold the laws and regulations and the culture that we expect a pharmacy manager to have. So I can't possibly go over all the pharmacy manager responsibilities. I implore you to visit connecticut.gov/DCP and look up all the pharmacy manager rules and regulations there. And I also implore you, as you've heard before, if you were on the call, to visit pharmacy.uconn.edu and search the CE called Pharmacy Manager Constant State of Readiness. I've seen it many times. They've actually taken some of the things that I've talked about and inserted it now into those slides. And I've learned a lot from those slides also. So as an old man, if I'm still learning something, I'm sure all you young guys can learn a lot too. So let's talk about some of the common findings that I just want to go over, some of the things that we see. Hours. When the store changes its hours, it needs to be reported to the Commission of to Drug Control. A pharmacist manager has to work a minimum of 35 hours a week. If you're going to go away for more than 16 days, that needs to be reported to the Drug Control Division. And one of the other things that's really important is the tech ratios. Now, we know that during the governor's mandate and during the COVID emergency mandate that we can have 4-to-1 now, but traditionally that may not last forever. We know it's 3-to-1 as long as one is certified. Otherwise, it's 2-to-1. And we do see tech ratios getting out of hand. Everyone knows the trick, flip the tag. One says cashier, the other one says tech. Everyone knows that little trick. And when an agent comes in, that's when you're going to have 5 or 6 people counting tablets back there, and they're going to want to know what's going on. Licenses and expiration date on licenses. Make sure your techs are licensed. I think their expirations take place in March. So you may want to have a little tickler file somewhere in a calendar that you check all your technicians after that to make sure that they are properly licensed, as well as your pharmacist, all your staff pharmacists. You know, I tell the story of a pharmacist that wasn't licensed once, and unfortunately there was a misfill. And when they found out that that pharmacist never renewed their license, then they continued to work. They worked over a year without an active license. All the insurance companies took back every single dime of every prescription that pharmacist filled. So make sure your pharmacists are licensed. And if you change your workplace, if you become a pharmacy manager somewhere else, or you decide not to be the pharmacist manager anymore, make sure you report that, because there's many cases where drug control agents walked into a situation and the pharmacy manager's name didn't match what we had and for our records at drug control. So if you do make a change, make sure you report that. Inventories, diversion. You heard the cases today before us. Make sure you're doing your perpetual inventories. Reconcile them. Don't just take them for granted that, oh, it's a perpetual inventory, the number's correct. Pick yourself a Saturday or a day that you think is slow, or after closing, once a month, once a week if you're in a busy store, and reconcile the inventory to that perpetual inventory just to make sure. If you do that, you nip these losses in the bud. You can see whether it was a miscount. Did a robotic in the pharmacy count a Schedule III drug that may be in the robot, or a pill counting machine isn't calibrated correctly? If you follow and reconcile your perpetual inventory on a constant basis, you won't have these types of losses. And if there is a loss, you have 72 hours to report it. You can see that if you take longer than that, other issues are going to arise. And the last thing you want in your pharmacy is DEA to come in. I know I've had them. I'm sure Commissioner Carbrace had DEA in the past. You don't want that type of audit. It's a nightmare. So stay on top of your inventory, stay on top of any losses, report them accurately, and look at all the security and measures. And going to that, familiarize yourself with what the street drugs are. What is being used on the street? Of course, we know all the opioids, but I make this case a lot. Phenergan with codeine is a big street drug. Soma is a big street drug. Xanax is still a big street drug. So familiarize yourself with what's out there on the street, and keep a special eye on those types of drugs in your pharmacy to make sure that they're reconciled correctly. I know everyone uses CSAUS today, but a simple thing that we did in our pharmacies was that the person that did the ordering for Schedule IIs wasn't the same person that checked it in. Because very often we found in the past that when there has been diversion cases, the person that ordering also checked it in and made sure that it never appeared in the inventory. So it's little things like that that you really need to keep an eye on to keep your pharmacy secure. We also find instances, and not so much in smaller pharmacies where the whole area has been licensed, but in bigger pharmacy where the prescription department is the only pharmacy. Remember, the prescription department, you're responsible for the pharmacy. If it's just a prescription department in a big box store or grocery store, or the whole pharmacy, as some of the plans that we saw today, it is your responsibility. That footprint is your responsibility. So if something happens in front in the counseling area that happens to be part of the pharmacy, that is your responsibility just as much as it is in the prescription department. Some of the things that I know have come up, we get complaints about workplace environment. We, as the Commission of Pharmacy, don't get involved in employment agreements. We don't get involved in how an employer handles their employees unless it affects public safety. But all I can say is with workplace environment, everyone on this panel, everyone on this commission knows how hard it is for a retail pharmacist these days. Now you have boosters to give with flu vaccines and new COVID vaccines. You have reminders popping up in the computer. You have phone calls to make. You have the phones ringing off the hook. There's drive-throughs to take care of. You have to oversee technicians. There's patients screaming at you, insurance companies. There's rejects. There's prior authorizations. Trust me, we know how hectic it can be in there. But I can't stress this enough. It is your responsibility to let your management, the owner, your boss, your supervisor, your regional manager, I don't care what you call them, to let them know if you need help and if it's appropriate. If you believe that public safety is at risk because of a process or because of a management style or because there's not enough employees, it's up to you as the pharmacist manager to bring that up to the proper authorities to fix it. Because we're not going to be able to help after the fact. If something happens, the excuse of I was too busy doesn't hold weight. You're the pharmacist manager and you're the one that's responsible for your workplace environment. So if you're not comfortable, you have to say something. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Nguante, who will talk a little bit about the Medwatch program. Commissioner Nguante.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, this was quite a sequence of an agenda. Couldn't get any more education than this. So, keeping within that same vein, we know you all keep up on your education and you want to be that great resource for your patients that you serve. And so we'd like to just kind of highlight the Medwatch program by the FDA. You can sign up for their emails and they push them out to you. Any kind of recall, concern, voluntary recalls by the vendors, things of that nature you will get from everything from, baby formula all the way to all of the prescription drugs. So again, we just want you to be successful. We want you to have all these tools at your disposal so you will be successful. And this is just another one of those tools that we like to recommend. And I'm sure you all learned a great deal from today's agenda and the cases that were discussed. So, that's a gift, right? You get to see why it's good to put the energy in on the front end so you don't end up in one of those situations. And that's it for me, unless you have any questions.
Commissioners, any other questions for these young, moldable minds to lead us forward? Any other questions, commissioners? All right, well, I'm going to leave you just with one thing. I want you to always remember that company policy is not state policy. Your company may ask you to do something, but if it doesn't jive with the state regulations and statutes and our laws, company policy is going to lose. All right, guys, go out and save some lives. Positive clinical outcomes. Let's go. Have a good day.
You too.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's see. You're welcome. Let's see here. Let's go.
Thank you.
What's next? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, miscellaneous matters. My Life Pharmacy request to open less than 35 hours a week. I know the commissioners have had a chance to read this. Is the author of the letter, Jeff Lagasse, in the house?
That's me, Commissioner. I'm here.
How are you, Jeff?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. So why don't you explain your letter a little more concisely? How's that?
I'll try my best to be concise. As you know, we spoke about 6 months ago when you granted our pharmacy license, and we discussed basically our business model, right? We are a specialty pharmacy that is present for patients with rare diseases, and a niche within the rare disease market is the home infusion market. And that's where we sit. And that has created a situation where it's not really created a situation. The situation is our pharmacists, our clinicians that manage the patient beyond a dispensing situation. Most of our time is spent reviewing notes, chart notes, labs, managing coordination of care, nursing. There's a lot of different aspects that go into what we do here. And with that said, we're dealing with rare diseases, patients, and specifically in home infusion. So our business model is to take these patients with usually genetic disorders, lifelong. They're on these infusions once, twice a week, once a month, whatever it is. Their quality of life because of their disease is not great. We want to make it better. And so what we do is we hand deliver these medications to them since they're home infusion products. And there's just not a lot of patients in this realm too, not necessarily locally to us here in Enfield, but just in general, right? So these patients go to providers, they have to travel 45 minutes to get to their provider just to see them and get a prescription. They're not going to travel another, better than I do is how many specialty pharmacies that deal with this are in the state, but I would say that they're very minimal, right? And so to take the burden off the patient is what we do and what we want to do. And there's a minimal amount of patients in this space. So when the emergency order came out right around when we were licensed or when it was reapproved by you guys, the emergency order to allow for shortened hours, it kind of fell into our model, and it almost worked perfectly because, we're accredited by ACHC, which is a national accrediting organization that has certain regulations that we need to follow too. And one of those is the 24/7, 365 days a week access by the patients. So we have that set up in our business model already. And as when this meeting was called and I was on the agenda, the things that I thought about originally was, why are there 35 hours a week? Why is that the mandate? And correct me if I'm wrong here, but my answer to that question as I thought about it was patient access to not only their prescriptions, but the pharmacists, right? They're an important part of the care team, and patient access is ultimately the most important. So am I right in regards to base our business model off of that?
Partially, yes.
Okay. So hopefully, that gives you an idea of where we're coming from. And our care, it doesn't take place necessarily 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, because these patients have home infusions, and due to their lifelong disorders, we try to take the burden away from them. And instead of them, we try to go out of our way for them instead of them going out of the way for us. So we're here no matter what. Sometimes we're here Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Other times we're here at Saturday night at midnight, right? Depending on a patient's need. And it could be an emergency need or just a convenience need. So we're here the 35 hours a week. It just doesn't fall into 9 to 4, Monday through Friday. And so when the emergency order came out, as we went through it, and I talked to Heather about this real quickly, and she said, you need a set hours, right? A couple set hours. And so that's what we did. But ideally, we're functioning around a PRN, an as needed. And we're here. And since we are accessible via telephone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to be there for the patients, no matter what, no matter when, that's, I feel like we fulfill that. And then on the other side of things, the amount of patients that surround us that would even be able to travel to us conveniently. So I imagine it saying, hey, you need your pharmacy open so somebody can walk in, right, and get their prescription. Our business model is we bring it to you, but also on top of that, the chances of somebody walking in are in my experience, I've been in this realm for about 10 years now. No one has ever knocked on the door and saying, hey, I'm here, I have a prescription that I think you can fill. So it's just more of the PRN that we want to get to, as opposed to having 35 hours that we're here, because there could be times where you can imagine, I'm sure you've owned independent pharmacies in the past, that we're managing both the business side and the patients, right? We want to do the best of both. And if we have to hire a pharmacist to sit here for 35 and then to be on call 24/7, if one pharmacist could perform that, like myself, which I usually am, I'm on call all the time, but it's just the need there. And, you know, as a growing pharmacy, the need will be there. You know, we're new, we just came to you 6 months ago. And as we grow, we're going to need longer business hours, of course. But for now, we're hoping to kind of, you know, have a little bit of flexibility in there. That's our wish.
Unfortunately, Jeff, we don't have different licenses for different autonomies. That may change in the near future. There's a lot of talk about that. And this is a situation where a different license type may work, but unfortunately we don't have that now. I can understand continuing your shortened hours while the mandate still exists, but and I'll open this up for the other commissioners too. I'm not in favor of a permanent less than 35 hours. Am I right to read this? It'd only be 1 day a week? So does that say?
That's what it is right now. But, you know, like I said, we are in there constantly. It's just as needed. So we go in there and then hand deliver the medications to our patients. Yeah.
Right. So, you know, I don't know how the other commissioners feel about this, but I'll open it up for the other commissioners to ask questions.
I just wanted to add one quick thing. So before that, you know, the 2 hours was just a, hey, we need something on there. I would be more than happy to discuss a middle ground. I know there's some other pharmacies in the state here that has some middle ground. And so it's that specific schedule is up for definitely, obviously up for discussion. I don't want it to say this is what we're offering or nothing at all.
There's other pharmacies that have a middle ground under the emergency order. I'm not aware of, I'm sure there may be a few that exist, but I'm not aware of any that have permanent less than 35 hours a week. Heather, unless you are, but.
Yes, there is a couple.
There's a couple. Okay. But are they 2 hours a week, Heather?
No, they're the, if you remember, it's like the Hope Dispensary who's doing like the voluntary
That's all
pharmacy
voluntary.
thing.
Yeah. That's a nonprofit.
Yep. Correct.
Yeah, that's a nonprofit situation, right?
Yep.
That's the one that came to mind, but I didn't think of that as a for-profit entity like this is. I don't know what commissioners, any questions for Jeff or any suggestions or ideas?
I don't see how we could support that request outside of the emergency order. And as you say, Chairman, you know, if, you know, in the next fiscal year, there's discussion on different classes of pharmacies, that would probably be the opportunity to, you know, craft something that's more in line with this kind of an on-demand, more of an on-demand type of a service. And the Hope Dispensary, aside from being nonprofit, all of their medications are donated. So they are very unique, and they only serve indigent destitute people. So I don't think there's any similarity here in terms of model, but also there's no injectable drugs there. But you know, I think that for right now, you know, I think that executive order was just extended, wasn't it?
It was until it gives the governor emergency power through February. Heather, Heather, do you know if that emergency order is still active in terms of pharmacy for us? Or was that to expire in September?
Right. So my understanding was when we met back in April, do you remember when we had that emergency meeting in April? At that point, in regards to the pharmacy section with the governor had already expired, and it was then put on to
September
drug control and the pharmacy commission to extend it to September. But as far as the governor was concerned, I believed, I could be wrong, but I thought that that's why we did that emergency meeting back in April, was so we could extend it through September.
Right. Right, and I think we kept it going because of the Delta variant. At some point, I mean, I'm probably, and
But as
something
of now, I believe it's expired starting like now.
Yeah, it was on the agenda to reconvene for today's date.
Right.
So do we have to take action as a commission to re-up that order?
If that is, so there's a bunch of different aspects to that we had discussed back in April. So you guys would have to re-review it and see if you wanted to, or if you just wanted to let it go at this point, since the governor is not overseeing that order anymore.
though they have granted him emergency power through February, correct?
Correct, but I don't believe I don't believe it included, that's why we had met back in April.
Yep.
Do you know the order number, Heather? Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
I don't, sorry, I don't.
The executive order number,
Yeah.
I believe it's 7I, I believe
Yes,
it was.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mhm.
Commissioner Caffarelli, if you can find anything and share it with the commission, that'll be great.
I mean, the only thing I would say, Commissioner, is that if we wanted to extend it for a temporary period,
Yeah, that
I might be open to that, but
yeah, I'm leaning
Not
that
a-
way too.
not on a
Yep.
permanent basis at this time.
Right.
Right.
I mean, that way
Yep.
too. It's a slippery slope if we allow this, because
Right, I agree.
there'll be dozens and dozens coming in. So what I think, while Commissioner Caffarelli looks that up, why don't, I mean, we're in October, right? We have the winter to go through. I know workforce is a very difficult thing these days, trying to get employees. I understand that. Heather, we have a meeting. Do we have a meeting in January? We don't in December, right? But yes, in January.
Yes, in January.
So I'm willing to make a resolution here in terms of My Life Pharmacy to extend these temporary hours through the rest of the year, and then see where we stand with this pandemic in January.
Okay, so can I ask, are you extending the whole executive order or just for My Life Pharmacy?
No, this is just for My Life Pharmacy.
Okay.
Because I want to get back to the executive order because I have some thoughts on that.
Okay, okay.
What do you think, commissioners? The end of the year, is that reasonable?
Yeah, I think that would work.
And we'll know where we stand with the pandemic. Hopefully it'll be, or not, it'll be way below 1. My lips to God's ears.
So until January 1st?
No, until, when's our next board meeting? In January?
Well, I don't know. I don't think we have that scheduled, but typically it would be the last Wednesday of January.
Last Wednesday of January.
January 26th.
Yep. So is that the date you want to do it till?
How do you feel, commissioners? Any suggestions? Or that gives Jeff and his crew some peace of mind through January, and it'll give us some ideas going forward on the executive order and what we should do on these temporaries. Because his is a very unique pharmacy, even, I'm okay with extending this through January, even though we may not approve others through January. But I think that that's a fair thing to do.
I agree.
Commissioner Cartwright?
Okay, I'm okay with it.
Caffarelli?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'd like to add one caveat though, is that maybe do we have anything in writing, Heather, from Jeff about this request?
The letter.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
the
there is a
letter. I
letter?
believe you had received it in the email with the rest of the commission information.
Okay. All right, so we should forward that to someone internally, maybe at DCP, for their consideration for, if this needs a more permanent change, that would be the process. I can speak to you offline about that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It would go, the letter, if we granted it, I would put it in their credential, so drug control knows that it's been, his hours have been shortened until January 26th.
Right, but it sounded to me, and thank you, but it sounded to me like he was looking for a more permanent scenario of like the hours. And so if that's the case,
Correct.
these orders are going to expire at one point or another. The governor's emergency powers are extended through February 15th. And after that, who knows? So if there's, the more permanent solution would be, I think it's a regs change, right? These are in the regs, so that would need to be initiated by the department upon, and I think that there's a way to make a request for that.
Yeah, my thought process was, Commissioner Caffarelli, that we extend this through, because the next meeting in February, do we have a meeting in February? We do not,
We
right?
do not.
Right.
We do not.
The governor's powers emergency, hopefully they'll expire, and this will correspond with that because we don't have a meeting in February. And in the meantime, we can try to get different autonomies of pharmacy with different licenses. But by that time in January, Jeff may come to us and say, hey, listen, we can't do 35 hours a week, which is the minimum, but we can do 30. And we may approve something like that, or something of that nature.
Okay.
We're definitely not going to approve 2 hours a week. I'll tell you that right
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if I could add,
right?
if I could add one thing.
And
Commissioner.
you're 24/7, 365. So what's the big deal if somebody 35 hours a week is in the building, right? So that's my thought process. I was 24/7, 365 for many years, and I know Rick carried. We're old, so it was a beeper for us. I know we carried a beeper. Mary carried one too, right, Mary? The beeper in the hospital. Absolutely. And I dreaded that thing going off, and it did. So. We understand, but you have to understand our regs too, of a minimum of 35 hours a week. So I'm going to make the motion. Do you have something to say before I make a motion, Jeff?
Yeah, I was just going to add. So because we ship all over the place, I've run into other states. I have 17 different licenses that I have, and I've run into different states that have different regs. So if you guys need to be pointed in for some guidance, if you were to accommodate this possibly, I could point you in a direction for maybe some templates or some way, because closed door pharmacy comes up a lot in other states. I know you don't have it. Massachusetts doesn't have it, but it's just something to think about.
Yeah, no, Jeff, I appreciate that. And we have all the other states regs already, and we've studied many of them already. And, Connecticut likes to do things their own way, but one thing I will say about our state being involved in a legislative process, as Commissioner Carberry has so many times, very often we do it in a very pragmatic but very smart way. We see where all the mistakes have happened and where there's been issues, and then we kind of fix it ourselves. So we appreciate that, but I know that the director at Drug Control and I have had long discussions about different license types. So it's coming. It's just a slow process.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to make the motion for My Life Pharmacy to extend the temporary hours through the board meeting in January 26th, 2022. Please, God, let us be live board meetings by that time.
Remember, we're till April. We have until April.
Yeah, but I bet you maybe if things get better, we can change.
Maybe, I mean, of course we could. Of course we could.
Yeah, right in the middle of flu season. There you go.
Right.
So that's my motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, so moved. Thank you very much, Jeff. Have a great day.
Thank you.
And
I
now,
commend your optimism, Mr. Chair.
oh yeah, listen, boosters, baby, let's go. I'm all for boosters. Commissioner Inguante, how about the MPJE? What's going on?
Well, this was quite the effort this time. The NABP has kind of changed some of the structure. So Agent Abdel Ghani and myself, we completed this assignment. It goes through August to the beginning of September. And this is part of that overall exercise. So what we do during this, it's called the state-specific review and pretest item selection. And so this assignment consists of 2 tasks. We select the newly written items to add to the Connecticut question pool. And if you remember, when I give the update in March, that's when we're writing those new items, the new questions. And then they go through the NABP team of PhD testing experts, and they're either vetted or not. So this time we select the new items to add to the pool. And then we review our current pool of questions, and just to be certain they still fit, right? We used to have a biennial narcotic inventory. We had to rewrite everything to annual, so the spirit of this is that we stay contemporary. We did not write any questions to work with that temporary executive order. So the review and the selection of this was completed on the due date of September 17th, and all totaled, we reviewed close to, I think, 4,200 questions. The thing that made it very challenging this time was any of the questions that we wanted to accept from any of the other states that were written. If somebody else had, an annual narcotic inventory, we had to include our state regulation number and the section. And so if it was something that was 797 USP 800, the controlled drug record, if it was from the feds, we had to include all of the detail in the chapter and the paragraph on where the NABP could find that. So we did complete it on time. And really it was actually, I'm sorry, I misspoke. It was a total of 3,212 questions we reviewed. So done till next time. It's a lot of work. It's a process, and you go through their secure server. And so, every night after work, when I would log on to this, you log through this whole process. Their IT support has gotten really good, and the login process has come a long way. So that used to be very, very onerous in and of itself. But that is my update for the commission.
Thank you, Commissioner Nguante. Any questions for Commissioner Nguante? We appreciate that very much, Commissioner. I know how much work goes into that, Mary. We really appreciate it. And keeping the taskmasters that we are, keeping you right there. How about the non-resident pharmacy approvals, Commissioner Nguante?
Great, thank you, Chairman. Yes, so you have my report in front of you. For the most part, we're going to mostly approvals. We have a couple we're going to deny. There's one from Columbus Gift Health. We need their 797. They want to be doing non-sterile. We have another one that veterinary, Golden Gate Veterinary Compounding, and they have also simultaneously applied for a Connecticut manufacturing license because they're only going to do prescriptions for veterinary office use. So Heather's, waiting for that to come through, and then everything else was in good stead. Have one in Allentown, Heartland. They are saying that they're doing, they want to provide sterile and non-sterile. They need to provide the documentation. And then the others approve, and then the final one denied because I could not read the report. It was almost like it's invisible ink. So aside from that, we only had 10 this time, and that concludes my report.
Any questions for Commissioner Nguante? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to accept the non-resident pharmacy report.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so moved. Thank you very much. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes for last month?
Yeah.
Any errors, omissions, anything you'd like to add? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes for last month.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, so moved. Before I adjourn the meeting, I have a little good and welfare, which is great news and sad news. And for the great news, that is also sad news, I'd like to have our trusted board administrator, Heather Hoynes, address the board. Heather?
Oh, hello, Commission. I wanted to let you know that I have received a promotion within the division.
Bravo! That's good news. Bravo! And now the sad news.
And the sad news is I will no longer be the board administrator for the.
Bad.
Yeah, but the good news
Finalized?
is
Can we call Michelle?
She went to free agency.
but the good news is
Congratulations,
because
Heather.
I'm staying,
Congrats.
because I'm staying within the division, I will be able to help train my predecessor. So that's good news. So at least I'll still
And
be
I- and I-
around
And Brian, I'm going to try to get it in the regs that she has to help train for 7.4 years.
Good, good, good. Or at the very least, an emergency order right now.
That's correct. Heather, congratulations. We know how hard you work.
Congrats.
Well deserved for the promotion. Would you like to share, if it's public knowledge? If it isn't, that's fine. Would you like to share with the board what you'll be doing?
It is public knowledge. I will be a licensed application specialist. And I will have a small little team underneath me for the adult use cannabis program.
Oh, okay, great.
Very good.
Oh.
Great, Heather. That's fantastic. Good for you.
Thank
So
you.
we do stay connected. That's perfect.
That's right. That's right, Rick.
You'll
And
be
if
great.
you
They're
know,
lucky
when you
to have
guys
you.
come back to in person, I'll make sure I stop down and say hi when you guys are there for your meeting.
Oh, that'll be great.
Good,
Oh,
yeah. No,
appreciate
they're
it.
very lucky. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Heather.
That's
You know, I'm sure I'll say it again. You're going to be with us for a little while longer, but you're 99% of this meeting. Without you, nothing runs, and we really appreciate it. It's
well said. Well
Thank
said.
you.
Amazing.
and the
Thank
other
you.
1% is Mary, so we just come along for the ride. so thank you so much, Heather, for everything. Okay, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Have a wonderful, beautiful fall day, everyone. It's gorgeous out there. And yes, Rick, I'm going to the golf.
Right, bye guys.
Bye, everyone.
Take
All right,
care.
bye, everybody.
Take care.